Guys, we need to talk about this. Johnny Somali, I think this time he may have bitten off just a little bit more than he can chew because listen to me, guys. He is literally in serious danger right now. And most recently, you saw him get beat up by that, they call him a YouTuber. Well, that YouTuber is a former Navy SEAL in the South Korean military. And as if that wasn't hard enough, I looked into the guy a little bit. I found some footage of him boxing and training MMA. And I'm going to put just a little bit of it here. I'll put a couple links in the description below. You can watch those videos. When this guy goes, he goes freaking hard. And believe me when I tell you, South Korea has a whole lot more guys just like this guy, and no shortage of guys that are even scarier than this guy. It has also just been brought to my attention that another guy who has some kind of relationship to martial arts, forgive me, I don't know who the guy is, but I did get wind of a very scary, actually terrifying development in the whole Johnny Somali story, and it involved a particular YouTuber. I went to look at his channel. Didn't spend much time there, but it didn't take long to see that this guy is really into training. I don't know if he's a professional fighter or what, but he looks like a pretty badass dude, and he's not a guy that I would want to have any trouble with. Well, this guy has apparently put a bounty out on Johnny Somali, and this guy has quite a few followers. So kids, let this be a lesson out there. If you looked up to Johnny Somali or thought he was cool, you thought it might be fun to go out and be one of these nuisance YouTube vloggers that just offends people, starts trouble, because sometimes you're going to mess with the wrong people and shit's going to get really ugly real quick. Johnny Somali has gotten off easy, as far as I'm concerned, for a very long time. He popped onto my radar when he was in Japan. And guys, for the record, I spent 4.5 years of my life in Japan. I absolutely loved the country. The people were so incredibly nice. I've got friends over there. It's such a beautiful place. It's a place I've always wanted to go ever since I was a little kid, and I finally got to do it. And when I saw Johnny Somali over there disrespecting the Japanese people, talking to them just randomly for no reason about Fukushima, and then just shouting at Japanese people, Nagasaki, Hiroshima, making references to the atomic bombs. It was absolutely sickening and disgusting, and he got off very, very easy. I mean, sure, yeah, he's been hit. I've even seen him get knocked out, and I always bring it up, but the guy that knocked him out was a white guy in Tokyo who had a man bun. A legend with a man bun. Who would have thought it? You can't make this stuff up, guys. But then Johnny went over to Israel, stirred up a whole bunch of shit over there, and his most recent target is South Korea. He's been there for a few weeks now. And it started off pretty easy. I mean, he was getting off easy. He was getting threatened. He was getting a reaction. He was getting kicked out of places. He was pissing people off. And it really all started to go downhill when one guy just walking down the street, a guy who was not looking for attention. As far as I know, that guy doesn't do anything with social media. He wasn't looking for clicks. He was just doing it out of principle. He walked up and just cracked Johnny Somali, popped him right in the eye. And then after that, you saw Johnny Somali get attacked again. And then most recently, we have this former South Korean Navy SEAL who, with just a quick search on YouTube, I found out this guy likes to train. He likes to fight. He's a rough and tough kind of dude. And I want you to just see the state of Johnny Somali after taking a lick from this guy. You can see Johnny is definitely feeling it. He's wearing it a little bit. And that was just from one blow. Think if those police that he often lies to and disrespects, think if those same police that he treats like garbage, think if they weren't there to protect him, what would have happened to him? Now, of course, for me, I would never promote violence, but here's the thing. If you choose to walk that kind of road, a piece of age-old wisdom, you reap what you sow. And Johnny Somali going over there to South Korea, sexually harassing the women, desecrating one of their most sacred statues, the statue of a comfort woman. And if you know much about World War II history and what happened between the Japanese military and what they did to women in South Korea, they basically made them sexual slaves. And it's just horrific what happened. It's so saddening and heartbreaking. Well, Johnny Somali proceeded to pour oil all over himself, take his shirt off, start dancing, twerking on the statue, kissing it, just doing absolutely vulgar, disgusting, just stuff that's so hateful that you couldn't even imagine somebody doing it. I mean, I know people try to do like shock videos for clicks and all this and nuisance videos, but this just takes it to another level. And I can't even fathom somebody being willing to do something like that. But that just shows you guys it's a big world and there are all types out there. And like I said, I think this time Johnny Somali has bitten off more than he can chew. I'm not sure what the status of him is. I'm seeing multiple reports online that his passport has been confiscated and he has been barred from exiting the country. I don't know his current status other than he's being investigated. He's got charges against him. I don't know if he's in police custody. To be honest, if he's in police custody, that could probably be the best thing for him because outside in the public, he's got a whole country of people against him. And like I said in a video earlier, a lot of people in other countries think of just East Asia as a whole as being kind of soft and friendly because, they've got their reputation. They're really good in terms of academics. When you meet people from that part of the world, they come across as being very friendly, polite. Yeah, and sometimes you walk away with the impression that they wouldn't hurt a fly just because they seem so well-mannered, educated, cultured. And I've traveled through all of these countries, guys. I've been to South Korea. I spent years in Japan. I spent years in China. I'm in China currently. I know this region very, very well. And that's one of the reasons I love this part of the world, because people are generally really, really nice. They have good traditional values. But another thing about them, they are also generally quite patriotic, and they place respect at a very high place on the priority list. And yeah, they'll be forgiving to a certain extent, but once you start crossing a certain line and they see you as an enemy, they don't mess around. Conscription into the military in South Korea is a thing. All males are required to do military service. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You're not dealing with a nation of like just soft, kind of weak guys. You're dealing with a country where all guys have to go in the military and at least go through that kind of training. Well, it shouldn't be much of a surprise. Military training tends to toughen people up a little bit. But also me, I'm a UFC fan. I follow some of the fighters out of South Korea, and I know how much of a martial arts culture they have. And there are some tough dudes over there. So Johnny Somali, there's not a whole lot you can do right now. You've really screwed yourself this time. You've backed yourself into a corner, and the walls are closing in on you. And I know maybe it's too late, but at some point you might want to start thinking about damage control. You've done some pretty bad stuff. Some would even say you've done some unforgivable things. But all things considered, it couldn't hurt to let this whole silly, immature shock video act go. Step out, admit your mistakes, and apologize from your heart. Get down on your hands and knees and beg for forgiveness. That would be the best thing that you could do. Now, will Johnny choose to do that? To be honest, I highly doubt it. But it would be kind of nice to see, and for his own best interest. But Johnny, if you're going to do it, don't do it if you don't mean it. Don't just try to wiggle your way out of the situation and then go somewhere else and keep causing the same troubles. This kind of shit needs to come to an end. Like, comment, subscribe. Links are down below.